Hello, Jenna Rose. Steph here in New York. I loved your video about Go Set a Watchman. I have actually finished Go Set a Watchman, and I thought it was time for me to make a video kind of continuing the conversation of our video book club. I actually read Go Set a Watchman while I was in Hawaii. It was actually the perfect book to read. I was on vacation with my family and I flew through it. I really couldn't put it down. So really the first thing I would say after finishing this book is how much I liked it. It really struck an emotional chord with me. The writing had some of that carefree, childlike quality that I remember from reading To Kill a Mockingbird. And it's kind of interesting to see that Harper Lee still has that sort of flavor to her writing even when she's not writing about small children. I also have to say that I totally agree with you. Scout's personality is like one of the highlights of this book. I really loved that it just sort of took place in her world, inside of her head, and you could see this sort of youthful way that she sees the world. Yeah, I think it's hard not to be in love with Scout and the things that she thinks and the way that she acts. That being said, there were some things I did not like about Go Set a Watchman. One was Hank. I just found him, like, right from the beginning to be kind of assumptive, that she was always like sticking around waiting to get married to him, and also I thought he was kind of a clinger, and just don't really feel like strong women like you and me and Scout need clinger boyfriends hanging around. So Hank did not do it for me, although I did like the bra story, so that was pretty good. But did not like Hank. I did not like the part where Uncle Jack slapped Jean Louise in the face. That was a little much, I thought. And finally, that scene with Calpurnia just really broke my heart. One of the things, I think when I first chose this book for us, I actually hadn't read up on it a ton, and I kind of thought that it was a sequel to To Kill a Mockingbird. And now that I've read the book and I've read a couple of reviews of it and I kind of learned a little bit more about it and how it was published, it is not a direct sequel. It's actually another draft of a different book that Harper Lee had written. That was sort of interesting and sort of hard to read this with that information. I mean, you can't really get the characters from To Kill a Mockingbird out of your head, and so when you sort of see different versions or alternate universes of those characters 20 years later, it's really hard not to think back on the stories. And for me, that Calpurnia would ever treat Scout so coldly just like did not make sense, and it just really broke my heart. The thing that I felt most though when I finished reading this book was how much it really struck a chord with me, this whole theme of disillusionment. And I think throughout the book, yes, Scout sees her hometown and the people that she grew up with in a different light, but really one of the things that the book doesn't talk about immensely is how much she changed. We don't get to see any of her life in New York, which sort of left me feeling curious and a little bit sad because it's hard to imagine Scout in New York, and I would have loved to see that. Oh, she's clearly changed, and she clearly has had her worldview shaped by this adult life that she has gone off and lived. And I think there's something really beautiful and profound about coming home, and it's not necessarily that home changed. Actually, home is exactly the same, but you've changed, and so therefore the way that you see everything that you used to just sort of accept as fact is now you know, utterly earth-shattering to you. And I totally identified with that. I feel like you probably do too. But when I went away to college in Boston, even from like the first year at Thanksgiving, I'd only been gone for a couple of months, and being home was like amazing and miraculous, and a lot of my family and friends were right where I'd left them. But you know, I could feel right away that I was a little bit different. And now as I've gotten a little bit older and I moved to New York, and it's been, wow, a really long time since I've lived in California with my family, you know, now they've kind of grown and changed in really measurable ways too. So it's a lot to think about, and it is this really sort of sad, like quiet death of your childhood in a way. But that was one of the things that in reading all of Go Set a Watchman, it just sort of felt like this echo of other feelings that I had had from my experience. But overall, this book just gave me so much to think about, and I can't wait to hear what you thought of it now that you've finished reading it too. And I'm also really stoked to hear what you're choosing for next month's book club, so can't wait to see your next video, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, Jen.